This video is brought to you by PrizePicks. When it comes to superstars in Cleveland, nobody likes to circle any kind of faint blood in the water, quite like the national media, when it comes to trying to pry these superstars out of the city of Cleveland. This is a phenomenon that no matter what team you love in this city, whether it's the Guardians, whether it's the Cavaliers, whether it's the Browns, whether it's all three, you have witnessed this phenomenon. For the Guardians, we have seen this with Francisco Lindor, right? When it became clear that Francisco was going to be a big star, he was going to come up for money, boy, people couldn't wait to Photoshop him in New York hats, right? They couldn't wait to speculate on where he goes. You know, it's funny too, because nothing makes a star in Cleveland quite like being a good player and being at the end of your contract. Because all of a sudden, then that's when the national media wants to talk about you. Whenever you're doing all of that stuff that made you worth that contract in Cleveland, nobody wanted to talk about that. But once you become available to go somewhere else, oh, now they all want to talk about it, right? It's the funniest thing in the world, too, because the same stars that people will hype up because they're about to leave Cleveland or they think they could leave Cleveland, when it's obvious that they're going to stay in Cleveland, they spend all this time, kicking them, throwing dirt on them. It's frustrating, right? But if you're a Cav fan, obviously you saw this with the whole LeBron thing, Kyrie. We've seen it with Donovan Mitchell most recently. It's super a thing with the Cavaliers, with the Cleveland Browns. We are seeing this now with Myles Garrett. Any kind of faint blood in the water in ESPN and all these national media outlets, they circle that water like sharks because they can't wait for Myles Garrett to not be in Cleveland anymore. And look, some of this has less to do about Cleveland and more to do about where the Browns have been as far as success goes. I'm sure if you're just a sports fan and you have no attachment to Cleveland, you would love to see Myles Garrett be on a more competitive team, and you probably don't have a ton of faith in the branding of the Cleveland Browns to be able to reach that level. I understand. But if you're from Cleveland and you are a Browns fan and you're a Guardians fan and you're a Cavs fan, like most people in the city are, then you hear this and you know what they're going for, because we've seen this play before, right? And it's especially something that people get excited about when it comes to Cleveland specifically. Let's hear ESPN. They had the Unsportsmanlike podcast. We've reacted to them a couple of times. They're talking about Myles Garrett and what they think of this situation. Let's react to it.
There was an interesting exchange yesterday with Todd Monken, Browns head coach, about the quarterbacks, and then it turns to their real QB1, who happens to play defensive end, and Myles Garrett. Take a listen.
We threw interceptions in 7-on-7, for God's sakes. I mean, who does that? There's no pass rush. I mean, it's embarrassing.
For the record, have you had any face-to-face with Garrett yet?
Myles?
Yeah.
No.
I love this guy.
Is that not weird, though?
No, but I just love that he tells us.
Okay, two parts. Let's go one by one. Smalls, the part you love about Todd Monken is?
The transparency. What head coach, especially a first-time head coach, this is the first that we are getting as Todd Monken, as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, is like, yeah, it's garbage out there. I'm embarrassed. Oh, and my star player, haven't talked to him. I'm just very surprised. There's no posturing at all with Todd Monken.
Wait a minute.
Very fun
Hold on.
as far as quotes.
Y'all see what they did there? I'll run it back. Let's run it back right there. They did something pretty slick there, right?
We threw interceptions in 7-on-7, for God's sakes. I mean, who does that? There's no pass rush. I mean, it's embarrassing.
For the record, have you had any face-to-face with Garrett yet?
Myles?
Yeah.
No.
I love this guy.
All right,
Not weird,
so
though.
No, but I just love that he tells us.
so that basically Todd Monken says right there, right? He doesn't like interceptions on 7-on-7s. And obviously he's not met Myles Garrett because Myles Garrett has not been in the building yet, because Myles Garrett usually is not in the building from the offseason until mandatory camp. This is stuff we know, right? But you see how that information is then just used to paint a different picture here, because they go about, oh yeah, he's transparent, he's honest, and then they proceed to use his words to paint a dishonest picture. So they're using like, oh yeah, Todd Monken's honest, right? And they're using his credibility as a honest person to paint their dishonest characterization of that situation. Now, some of it is less honest than other parts of it, right? The whole thing with the quarterback competition, I mean, we know what it is, right? But like the way that they use him just saying no to has he met Myles Garrett yet? Like, no. He didn't say anything else. He didn't put anything else on it. And then look what they run with.
Okay, 2 parts. Let's go one by one. Smalls, the part you love about Todd Monken is
the transparency. What head coach, especially a first-time head coach, this is the first that we are getting as Todd Monken, as the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, is like, yeah, it's garbage out there. I'm embarrassed. Oh, and my star player, haven't talked to him. I'm just very surprised. There's no posturing at all with Todd Monken, and I think we are in for it.
Haven't talked to him. He said he's talked to Myles Garrett. Myles Garrett just hasn't been in the building. Question was, has he met Myles? No, Myles hasn't been in the building yet.
Very fun season as far as quotes are concerned.
part 1, part 2?
Well, so much there. But what does Wendy always say? Actions over words?
Yes, he does.
Nobody has given me a reasonable explanation as to why Myles Garrett would defer a $30 million payment until a week before the season.
I'm clapping. Why are we not talking about this every day?
Nobody
I don't get it.
Nobody has given me a good reason.
Thank you,
Nobody.
CC.
And when asked that question about Myles Garrett, it feels like Todd Monken knows something that everybody else doesn't, which is he's not with the team right now. He's probably not going to be on the team when we start the season in week 1.
How do you get that from one word that Todd Monken has said? Like, seriously. Look at what he's extrapolating from all of that. All Todd Monken said was no. And they're like, oh, well, obviously Todd Monken knows that the Cleveland Browns are going to trade their best player before week 1. What? Like, how did we make that leap there, right? The whole deferment on the payment thing, it just feels like semantics that they were clearing up. It does make it so that it's easier to trade Myles Garrett if that comes down to a situation. But, like, this is the same front office that refused to trade him last year. What do you think has changed over the last year? Do you think somebody is giving them a Godfather offer? Like, do you think the Browns are just going to trade Myles because he wants to get traded? Like, we've been through this before. If Myles gets traded, it's because somebody offers them a deal that they can't say no to. And do I think the Browns would refuse to say no to a Godfather deal? No, I don't think that's the case, right? If somebody wanted to offer a ridiculous package for Myles Garrett, the Browns would say yes. They understand their timelines. They understand that Myles is getting closer to 30. They don't have a quarterback right now. They hope to rectify that maybe in 2027's offseason. So, like, they understand that there are things they could do to win right now, and there are things that they cannot do to win right now. And they understand that getting a lot back for Myles would help them. But here's the part that nobody, right, they talk about nobody talking about that deferment. Here's the part that nobody talks about when it comes to Myles. You have to do the math with anything about somebody the caliber of Myles Garrett. One, what is the value to the team that wants Myles? And what is the value for the team that has Myles? See, if you're in a situation where those things are equal, then a trade is likely, right? If the Browns are in a situation where, for whatever reason, they value Myles at 2 first-round picks, and a team like the Eagles is at a situation where they value Myles at 2 first-round picks, and guess what? A deal's likely. But if the Browns have a much higher evaluation of Myles Garrett, but the Eagles are willing to only give up 2 first-round picks, then obviously a trade's not going to happen. Here's where that really becomes important. for Myles, a trade for Myles Garrett to make sense, there are certain criteria that need to be hit. Myles has a no trade clause in his contract, so he's just not going to go to anywhere. He wants to go to a contending team. So if Myles wants to go to a contending team, well, then that makes the value that the Browns could get back on him less, right? So we're already talking about him not being able to go at market value because Myles Garrett wants to go to a contender. A contending team is not going to have high-quality first-round picks. They're going to have late first-round picks. So even if you can get 3 first-round picks, which is the most that you can get in a trade without a team acquiring somebody else's assets, even if you could get that, guess what? Those 3 first-round picks aren't even close to touching the value of Myles Garrett. I'm not really into the idea of trading Myles Garrett to get Xavier Leggett, Josh Simmons, and Jadarian Price, who are the last 3 30-second picks of the NFL draft. It's just there's no way you're going to be able to make up for Myles' impact with 3 super late first-round picks. So then you get into the real dilemma, right? If draft picks alone aren't going to do it for the Cleveland Browns, right? If your late first and late seconds alone aren't going to do it, then what is going to do it? You're going to have to give me some of your young talent. You're going to have to give me a young superstar that I can replace Myles Garrett with, right? Like that's what it would take. If the Houston Texans wanted Myles Garrett, we would want first-round picks back and we would want Will Anderson. But you don't trade Myles Garrett to trade Will Anderson. You're trading Myles Garrett to pair with Will Anderson. You feel what I'm saying? And that's the issue, is that the price that a team's going to have to give up to get Myles Garrett from Cleveland is just going to be too high for them to be able to want to reach their goals, because they're probably going to have to sacrifice a player that's really important to what they want to achieve in order to get Myles. So it makes it so that the price is just too high. The Godfather deal doesn't exist because there's not an accumulation or a team that's accumulated the right amount of assets that can even offer you a Godfather deal while also getting better at the same time by adding Myles Garrett. That's the problem with trading him. The price that the Browns want is up here. The price that the rest of the league is willing to pay is 2 first-round picks. It's not going to happen. It's non-starter. All this other stuff does not matter, right? Whether Myles wants to be in Cleveland, it doesn't matter. He's going to show up. He did it last year, and he won the sack record. All this other speculation, it doesn't matter. If there is not somebody willing to pay the price that Cleveland wants to pay to get rid of Myles, right? If there's not somebody willing to pay that price, then no deal is going to happen. And right now, can you predict if somebody's going to be willing to give you that deal? Because I don't see one that makes sense for the team receiving him. Hey, let me talk to you about my sponsor for this year, PrizePicks. It's a fun way to win cash while you're watching your favorite teams. Forget complex betting rules. Their app is designed to be incredibly easy to use. Just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Speaking of, here are my picks for this upcoming NFL season. They have Myles Garrett at 14 sacks here. I think he will get more than 14 sacks. Joe Burrow at 3,875 passing yards. I think he'll be a 4,000-yard passer. I'm going to go with more. They have Derrick Henry at 1,224 yards. I'm going to go less than that. Check to see if PrizePicks is available in your state. You can follow me on the app at KWEN_C to see all of my lineups. Download the PrizePicks app today. Play $5 and get $50 in lineups when you download the app using the link in the description.
He's not with the team right now. He's probably not going to be on the team when we start the season week 1.
Based on actions over words.
Actions over words.
You believe that Myles Garrett will be on another football team.
Why would F? And I get it. I love money more than most people on this network. But why? Why would you say when you're entitled to $30 million, it's cool, you can get it to me in 4 or 5 months? If you owe me $30 million and you owe it to me tomorrow, why would I say I'm cool taking it 5 months from now, 4 months from now?
I want it yesterday.
Exactly.
I don't understand this. If you know that the $30 million is guaranteed to you and you're not in desperate need of spending $30 million, why does it fucking matter? Like, he's trying to use this as like some kind of big selling point. It's not like it changes whether the Browns owe him this $30 million or not, right? He's talking about this like it's a roster bonus. Like, oh, he deferred a roster bonus till later, which, yeah, would be a sign that a team is trying to trade a player, because what the team is saying is that we're not going to say that this $30 million is guaranteed to you until this date. But that's not what the Browns are doing. The Browns are just saying, hey, look, we will account for this money at this time. And the reality is there could be a number of reasons for that. It's not like the Browns are arguing with him about if that money's going to be paid. Just, hey, we'll move this money down the line. And this ain't like a paycheck for me and you. You know what I mean? Like, Myles got a lot of money, right? He knows that money is guaranteed to him by the NFL. He knows that money is already in escrow. So it's going to be in his account, whether it's in June or whether it's in September. It's just a matter of semantics. You know what I mean? Like, I understand Chris Canty is, putting himself out there as somebody who is so money oriented that he can't wait 5 months to get what's guaranteed to him. But that's not everybody, okay? A lot of people, especially people who have as much money as Myles Garrett, maybe they want money to hit at different times because maybe it makes more sense for them and their personal financial situation for money to hit at different times. We don't know, right? Either way, I don't think it matters that much. It's just semantics. I think the reality is that money was moved for flexibility. Yeah, if there's a Godfather offer for Myles Garrett, understanding that Myles is still keeping his eye on wanting to be on a contending team, hey, we might move you. This might make it more easy for us to move you, but it also might make it easier for us to build a better team around you while you're here. Both of those things benefit Myles Garrett, to move that money 5 months down the line when he knows he's going to get it anyways. I don't understand why Chris Canty thinks this is the tale of all tales when you can't tell me if there is a price that the Browns would be willing to accept on Myles Garrett, which is the most important thing. Look, I don't think the idea of talking about a Myles trade is ridiculous. I think that it is something that the Browns are going to be more and more open to as the years go on, especially if this next offseason passes, right? If the 2027 offseason passes and the Browns still don't have a long-term fix at the quarterback position, the probability of trading Myles Garrett skyrockets at that point, because Myles would probably want to go at that point, and Myles will be at the age and at the point of his career where the older he gets, the more and more you're willing to accept the market value of what's out there for Myles Garrett, right? 3 first-round picks for Myles in his prime really doesn't make that much sense. But if a couple of seasons from now, Myles has fallen off a little bit, then maybe 3 first-round picks would make sense for Myles Garrett. We all know who is the GM for the Cleveland Browns. We all know how Andrew Berry operates. The price is the price for Andrew Berry, and he's not one to fold on that principle, right? We saw him in that behind the scenes look at the draft. He has an idea of a price that he's willing to entertain for everybody on the roster. And if he has that price, he will make that move. If he doesn't have that price, he won't make that move. We saw this last year with Joe Flacco, where his price for Flacco was a 5th-round pick. If somebody offered that, he was going to give it up, right? The same thing with Kenny Pickett. If you want to meet what Andrew wants to do, he'll do it. There probably is a price for Myles Garrett. The problem is that price is probably too high to make any kind of realistic sense for any team that would make sense to trade for Myles Garrett to do. So if that's not met, it doesn't matter. right? The Browns might have structured that contract in the offseason to have a little bit more flexibility. Myles might have been okay with it because he understands that flexibility for both the Browns and himself is the best thing for both parties, right? If the Browns can move that money down, account for it a little bit later, push it down the cap a little bit, make it easier to get some offensive linemen and some help on the offensive side. If Myles is here in 2026, obviously that makes sense for him. That benefits him. If Myles is not here in 2026, it's because he was able to move that money down the line and make it easier for the Cleveland Browns to trade him, which would benefit him since he has a no trade clause. He wouldn't go somewhere that doesn't benefit him. So either way, it benefits Myles to make that move. And ultimately, what are we talking about, right? We're talking about him getting $30 million that he was already guaranteed, just moving the payday of that a little bit later. And shout out to, I don't know who I heard this from, but I remember somebody telling me this. The more money you make, the less you care about is the paycheck on time, right? Like, when you ain't making a lot of money, you need that paycheck to come on time because there are things that matter about that being on time, right? But if you're making the amount of money that Myles Garrett is making, it's a semantic issue. It's not changing his lifestyle one bit, whether he gets that check now or he gets that check later, right? It doesn't change a single thing on his itinerary. It doesn't change a single thing in his life when he gets that $30 million because Myles has a lot of money at this point. He got a lot of money up front from signing his signing bonus, right? So that's just not something I think he's going to value that much, right? If you already live a life on a budget of, let's say Myles is living a life on a budget of $8 million a year, but you got like $200 million in the bank, you're not going to feel when that 30 gets deposited. That's just the kind of life he's living. You know, it's different than what Chris Canty was living with. He don't know nothing about that. No disrespect. It's just what it is. Chris Canty wasn't making Myles money. He don't know nothing about that life. Nobody in Chris Canty's era was making Myles money, right? It's a whole different level of bag that guys are working with. And that changes how they make decisions. And I think that's why Chris Canty can't understand it. Because $30 million would be the biggest paycheck Chris Canty ever got in his life. $30 million from Myles Garrett would just be another big check in his bank account because he gets paid like $46 million a year to play. So, like, you know, he got like $80 million last year in his signing bonus or whatever it was. He's not going to feel that 30. So he could wait for that 30. I think people are making too big of a deal out of this. Will the Browns trade Myles Garrett? Yes. Do I think it's likely that somebody has the price to make it move for Myles Garrett? I think that's unlikely. And I think that's the only thing that matters. Andrew Berry's not going to trade Myles Garrett for a pack of Skittles. Andrew Berry is going to be pretty strict with what he sets that price to be, and he's already demonstrated this. And Myles has demonstrated that he's not willing to sit out during his prime to force a trade. So we know what the circumstances are. We know Myles is going to be here. And can we stop doing this thing where we act like we don't know that Myles don't show up until mandatory OTAs anyways? Like if he doesn't show up for mandatory OTAs, then we got something to talk about. If he doesn't show up for training camp, then we got something to talk about. If he's not there week one, obviously we got something to talk about. But right now, it's voluntary OTAs, it's mini camps, it's stuff he's never been at since like his third year of his career. And guess what? Whatever he's doing when he's not there, it works out because he's the best player of his generation on the defensive side of the ball. I don't give a fuck about none of that shit, okay? I'm going to let Myles Garrett show up when he wants to. Yeah, I don't care. He's good. He got nothing to explain to me. He got nothing to learn from our strength coach. He's got nothing to learn. Honestly, I would be worried that him having to show up at these OTAs would mess him up because obviously he has some very specific training that he does to be Myles Garrett. Let him sit in his back to tank and do his anime thing and get them superpowers in that mountain wherever he working, and then let him come back when he ready. Okay? Because we've seen what he's capable of. Why are we micromanaging this? I don't understand it. Like the need to micromanage somebody who's better at their job than any of us could hope to be at is crazy. Like Myles Garrett is one of the greatest at his job ever. And we out here sitting here talking about what Myles should do like we know. Like we know better than the dude who just broke the sack record. Oh, yeah, he would have had 28 sacks if he showed up to OTAs. What the fuck are we talking about? I get so tired of this. But let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below. Y'all have a great day. Have an even better night. Peace.